Right now, I'm working on completing a coaching certification, and I need to work with people just like you who want to work on their relationships with themselves or with others. So I'm asking for your help. I need extra hours in a really short amount of time. And so to do this, I'm offering my coaching at way less than I usually do. So if you've been wanting to work with me, but couldn't quite afford it, this is the time. I'm so excited to be opening this up to you. I do have limited spots available for this price. If you schedule 4 1-hour sessions with me before the end of 2023, you'll get all 4 sessions, 4 1-hour sessions for just $100. So even if you've worked with me before and you're needing a little bit of extra help on things that we've done in the past, this is a great time to do that. Now, an extra bonus that I'm adding on to this, if you do the 4 sessions with me and then complete them before the end of January, you're going to get to use that $100 that you paid for your coaching, and I will take that off of the new course program that I'm working on. It's the Connection in Relationship course, and I'm creating that with all this new content that I have been learning. So you'll basically get that coaching for free. I guess you can probably tell that I really do need your help. I need to get these hours done so I can finish off that certification. So don't wait too long. I only have a few spots available until I fill all those required hours. And if I get more people than I need for those available spots, I'm going to have to shut that offer down. So jump on quickly if that's something that you really want. Go to hunkydory.com/mini mentor, and you can sign up for a 15-minute session where I will just talk with you and we will schedule out those 4 1-hour sessions so that those are in a time that you can do that. So you're a perfect candidate to work with me if you feel stuck in a rut in your life, if you feel like you can't get out of those ruts, like you're in a cycle of spiral of negative thinking that just keeps bringing you down, if you feel trapped in a life that you never thought was going to happen to you, and if you feel like other people are controlling everything you do, maybe you feel like the work you do doesn't help anybody and you feel trapped in that job. Do you feel disconnected from your life? Or perhaps you feel disconnected from yourself. I'm here to help you to find your way back to you and get unstuck and feel that you have some control over your very own life. I want you to feel hope. I am the Hope Coach, and I help women find peace with the past and hope for the future. So go to hunkydory.com/mini mentor and get that 15-minute time slot that works for you, and we'll schedule those 4 1-hour sessions. My clients have been amazed at how changing their own thinking with just a little guidance from me has changed all of their relationships. One client told me that she changed the way she felt about herself. Some of the things she didn't feel good about herself when she changed those things, but some of the things she disliked about her husband just didn't bother her anymore. I am so humbled by this, and I'm excited to see what you and I can do together. So schedule your time today. I know it might feel a little scary, but I hope that because you've been listening to me on this podcast, we have gained some trust in each other and that you will feel trusted in sharing those things with me. All right, let's get on with the episode today. Our brains are extremely complicated. They're complicated organs and they fulfill multiple purposes and tasks, most of which we never even think about. Some parts of our brain are designed to automatically react so it can ensure our survival. Other parts allow us to be creative, to make decisions, to set goals, and to choose to be more than we might desire naturally. Now, the key to using this extremely complicated organ is to make sure we learn about it and do our best to understand the different parts of our brain and try to use the right part for the right situation. Sound complicated? Maybe. But I have a few tips, tricks, and rules to share with you today that will give you a different way to think and use your brain to improve your relationship with yourself, as well as the relationships that you desire to have with others. Now, there are a few definitions that we need to discuss before we get into the meat of this episode. Let's talk about a few of the parts of our brain. Let's start with the hindbrain. It's called the neocortex. The hindbrain is the relating brain. This is where we listen. This is where understanding happens. Now, next is the limbic brain. The limbic brain is the connecting brain, and bonding occurs here, where we bond with one another. The lower brain, we already talked about the higher brain. Now we're talking about the lower brain, and its name is the amygdala. It's also known as the reptilian brain, so something that has been around for a very long time. It is non-relational. This is where our fight and flight reactions happen. They happen in our lower brain. So when this reaction happens, that fight or flight, blood rushes to your extremities, your hands and your feet, so you defend yourself or run, your hands and your feet. So this amygdala ensures your survival and has priority over other parts of the brain when it takes over. The lower brain asks 3 questions. Number 1, can it hurt me? Number 2, can I eat it? And number 3, can I mate with it? Now, while it's not yet known how the brain works entirely, there are these basic structures that we do know that take place, and we can learn to use them to help instead of hurt us, especially in relationships. For example, it only takes 6 seconds to turn threats to your amygdala or your lower brain, to turn those thoughts around and move them into your neocortex or your hindbrain. 6 seconds. This helps us when we gain control over it, because we can react to situations in ways that we actually choose, instead of letting our lower brain do things that we regret later. Now, we've talked about the importance of building character in previous episodes. If you haven't listened to the series I did called 4 Tips to Improve Any Relationship, I suggest you go back to that, or I can send it to you in your inbox by going to hunkydory.com/4 tips. So number 4 TIPS. In this series, I teach you about developing character. It's kind of the basic skill needed that helps us to be who we really want to be in situations that will catch us off guard. When we allow our character to kick in, instead of verbally attacking someone, for example, we can move automatic thoughts or reactions into the higher brain instead of being hijacked by the lower brain and go directly into survival mode, which makes us fight or flee. So another way to describe this is taking the high road instead of the low, and let's face it, easier road. When you take the high road, you choose to go the better way, the higher way. You choose to avoid negativity and all that comes with that. You try to see yourself and others in a healthier and more realistic way. When you take a minute to get out of your low brain, remember, it only takes about 6 seconds for it to take over. You can make a better choice. You can do this by taking a deep breath, then let it out slowly and make a conscious choice of how you want to show up. Here's a rule I'd like to teach you, a skill that will help you to make a choice to be in your high brain instead of your low brain. This rule is called call a timeout. A timeout is only called on the subject of the misunderstanding, not on the person, meaning you don't always need to leave the room to use the timeout rule. So here's the rule. You call the timeout and you suspend or stop the conversation. Pause and ask yourself the question, what do I want most? Then, when you can answer that, come back to the conversation. Give yourself the time you need to really answer the question. Now, make sure you call a time in within 24 hours so it doesn't hang in the hour between the two of you for too long. Now, you can make a timeout with yourself too. When you feel your emotions start to take over, meaning that your emotions begin to rise, that's when you stop thinking clearly. You call the time out, suspend the conversation, pause, and ask yourself the question, what do I want most? Then, when you can answer that, come back to the conversation, even with yourself. Taking a time out helps you to keep from being hijacked by your emotions. Being hijacked means that your emotions have taken over. You become reactive and function out of your lower brain. Now, I know you know what I mean by that. When you react in a way that is not really true to who you are, it takes you out of character, and it takes you out of your values. It takes away your logic and your ability to solve problems. Now, take a minute and think about things that hijack you. Think about when your emotions get big and you feel yourself getting swept away and not reacting as you normally would under other circumstances. Go back to episode 115. In there, I told you about the 7 basic needs. Every human on the planet has 7 basic needs that they must meet in order to thrive. As a reminder, they are safety, trust, appreciation, respect, validation, encouragement, and dedication. Now remember, the first letter in each of those is starved, and that's how I remember them. Now, when any of these needs have not been met, we may feel hijacked. Maybe thinking about one of these needs and a time when you didn't feel your need was met and you kind of lost control of your reactions, that's when you've been hijacked. Sometimes we refer to that as being triggered. This is when you need to have character, and you use character to apply the timeout rule. Call a timeout, and remember it's on the subject, not on the person. You suspend the conversation, you pause, ask yourself a question, what do I want most? This act of just stopping and pausing the conversation and asking a better question takes you from the lower brain to the higher brain, and you'll make better decisions and react better from your higher brain. This is yet another example of how important it is to pay attention to your thoughts. I want to leave you with a homework assignment this week. Practice the timeout rule. Remember the steps. Call the timeout, suspend the conversation, pause, and ask yourself the question, what do I want most? Then, when you can answer that, come back to the conversation. Do it within at least 24 hours. Now, write these steps on a sticky note where you will see it. Put your sticky note in a place where you'll see it, like the bathroom mirror or wherever you'll see it the most often. Catch your hijacked thoughts and call a timeout on yourself. Catch your emotions rising when talking to another person and call a timeout as often as you need to. I really do think you'll like the results. If you'd like more help with this, remember, I'm offering individual coaching at a special price right now, 4 sessions for only $100. Plus, that $100 will be taken off the Connection and Relationship course when you register for it, when it opens up in early 2024. I'd love to help you one-on-one to reconnect to yourself and improve all of your relationships. Thank you for joining me here today. And remember, I see you. I understand how hard you're trying, and I'd like to help however I can. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you back here again next week.